Pandemonium reigns.
Hey, family and friends, welcome to Pandemonium Reigns. A new year is almost among us, and we are I think we're about 8 months total, tallied together on Michael not having a haircut.
Easter, I was getting ready for Easter when I cut my hair.
What is that math? 8 months? 9 months? I don't know.
8 months, easy 8 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You're still beautiful, more than beautiful than ever.
Thank you, sir. One day I'll unleash it for the beautiful people.
If you're listening on the podcast, then sucks to be you. Hey, what also sucks to be you is when you don't hit like and subscribe and follow us. If you're one of those guys, then sucks to be you. You're a piece of crap. All you got to do is hit the button. Hey, we're here to talk Orange Bowl on this special OrangeCast. It's Tennessee. It's Clemson. It will be, at the time of this recording, tomorrow night. Miami. We haven't been to Miami since Peyton Manning, if I remember right. I believe it was Nebraska when we got thumped. I think that was the Orange Bowl, if I remember right.
Well, for a bowl game, yes. Not including the win at Miami, but
fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah. No, for these contexts and purposes, yes. Peyton Manning, Nebraska, beat down.
Yeah. I like your lens a little bit better when going into Miami, playing Miami, ending their home win streak, and Kellen Winslow calling himself a soldier.
Woo, so, man, what a day. I'll never forget that.
Yeah. So, man, Tennessee, Clemson, the story of the backup quarterback, very different, very, very, very different stories. The story of DJ Uiagalelei is a story in of itself.
It sure is.
Him now being a Beaver. I hope he figures it out, by the way.
Absolutely.
He seems like a good kid. I hope he gets that figured out.
Yeah, and this is something y'all know by now if you've listened to us that I always do is I guess I'd love to see that alternate reality where Clemson didn't have that coaching turnover finally. Maybe they had their championship staff or staffs together, and maybe he gets, maybe he's a little bit more prepared. I don't know. It looks like Cade Klubnik can be good, so I'm not, out on who they have now or anything like that, but they just never quite figured it out or pulled it out of DJ if he has it with himself to be what he was hopped up to be.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And if I'm DJ, I don't know if my choice was Oregon State. Maybe he wanted to be close to his brother at Oregon, and this is the closest he could get. I don't know. Am rooting for the guy though. And then because of his departure, him finally being benched, I should say, in-state interjects Cade Klubnik from Texas, and kid's a baller. You and I have been very high on him. Did not expect to be playing this guy, that's for sure.
Sure, absolutely.
And then, of course, the sad story of Hendon going down, I guess South Carolina, in steps Joe Milton, who, I don't know if you're getting this question a lot. I'm getting it a lot. What's the story in your backup quarterback? Who is he? Yada, yada, yada. I'm like, well, it was actually the starter last year before he went down and in-stepped Hendon Hooker. So wouldn't it be awesome if we could live that again, for another year and a half, where in this case, Joe steps in and he does Hendon-like things? That would be, man.
Oh my gosh, golly, that would be so amazing if that's the case. Tell you, man, just like DJ, if he ever figures it out, he's going to be great. If Joe ever reins in that bomb, that crescent moon that you dub it, if he ever reins that in, man, he really will be a fantastic quarterback. Yeah. I think he's got all the tools in the bag that you could want at the NFL level if he can find his accuracy. That's been the struggle. And my conversations, everyone around here knows that, I'm not around just a bunch of Georgia fans that are so wrapped up in Kirby and recruiting. Okay, I'll stop. But no, I'm kidding. But, most, for whatever reason, a lot of the people that I'm close to, I've got a couple Michigan friends that I'm close to that have seen the same Joe Milton that we've largely seen, He's made some beautiful passes at Tennessee, made some beautiful passes at Michigan, and he's done his fair share of overthrowing. So we hope to see that cut down tremendously. Will have to be cut down tremendously for him to have any shot to hold off Taven Jackson or Nico if you go into next year, or whoever. I mean, the transfer portal is not closed. You don't foresee, of course, I don't think Tennessee getting a transfer, but for him to have any chance of doing Hendon Hooker-like things, of Tennessee maintaining success, I think you need to see Joe rein it in, be an accurate passer, and just unleash everything he's capable of.
I'm with you. Rumor on the street is that Electronic Arts, EA Sports, it's in the game, has dubbed his throw power for the new game at 109.
I doubt
it caps at 99.
Not at all.
Yeah,
and I don't doubt it at all.
He can't throw it a country mile, but the question is, can the receivers run a country mile in time?
Yeah.
So there's that question. You threw out the quarterbacks' names there a little bit. I just want to interject this before we get into some preview on the Orange Bowl. I think it's just a matter of time at this point before Taven Jackson's in the portal. Simply because I don't know if you have seen this or felt this way, but all the Vol football social media accounts highlighting Nico, and Jackson's like, "What's up, man?" It's almost like we're putting all our eggs in the Nico basket. And say what you want to, he's got all the skill sets. I mean, he's got a professional arm.
Absolutely.
But you never know until they take the field.
Absolutely.
You just never know. I'm rooting for Taven Jackson. I would love for him to be able to figure it out and make that quarterback room even more competitive.
100%.
Because Nico ain't playing Friday night. Our backup behind Joe, if he goes down, is Gaston Moore.
Taven is available. I don't know if you've seen this, but he is back from that injury that he had. Yeah, he is available. Okay. And I hope, listen, I don't want to see Gaston, nor do I want to see Taven unless it's a vintage 2022 Tennessee blowout, which you'll learn in a moment that I'm not expecting or predicting. But Taven is available if it comes down to it. So, I wonder how that'll affect the game plan, how Joe's used, if he'll run more or if he'll be called to run more. I wonder. But he is available. So
interesting. Had no idea. Idea. Well, last I heard as of yesterday, Locked on Vols, Eric Kane still saying he was out. So, okay.
That's weird. I've heard from other places, that he could be available if he was needed in Friday night's action.
Okay, well, I do know that Jimmy Holiday played quarterback in high school. I do know that Jimmy Callaway played quarterback in high school. Christian Charles played quarterback in high school. Maybe one of those guys can figure it out over Gaston Moore. Every time I hear Gaston Moore's name, I think of the dude from, is it Beauty and the Beast? Gaston, whatever. Gaston, yeah. Anyway, so I think worst case scenario for Friday is Joe goes down.
Yeah.
And the hit he took last year against Pitt didn't look bad, but it was enough to knock him out and insert Hendon for the rest of the game. And which I don't want anybody getting hurt, but praise God the way that turned out, and we got Hendon in there. So anyway, Clemson's got. Let's talk opt-outs just for a second, because we know Tennessee has got obviously the Biletnikoff winner, Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, and now linebacker Jeremy Banks, who his timing was weird to me of him announcing. I believe that was Christmas Eve, 11:30 at night on Christmas Eve. Interesting choice, and then obviously we have Hendon out. So, do you feel worse about the opt-outs from our receivers or about Jeremy Banks opting out?
Man, that's actually a great question. It should be an easy answer when you think about not having Hyatt, Tillman, the yardage and production, and then just the potential of those guys. It should be a runaway with them, and I would probably ultimately side with Hyatt over everyone else. But the only thing, and there is a factor to this as well, but the only thing I can have in my mind for reference is South Carolina when Banks was out. Though in that case, it was unexpected, it sounds like, or maybe it was more of a, late week, last minute situation. This time we know he's out. We know that Mitchell's there, Beasley's there, Elijah Herring's there, Solon Page is there. I mean, We know who's there. There's no surprise this time. And ultimately, I think for even if you look at Joe Milton's purposes, I think it's high in his value, his speed. And then, again, with Tillman, we didn't get to see him at all like we did in 2021, but thinking about how trusted he is by these quarterbacks, even when he came back from his injury, getting a lot of targets down in Athens, and a lot of targets in Columbia, South Carolina that night as well. So I think I would go with the receivers over Banks because at the same time, though I can't get that South Carolina game out of my mind,
Sure.
Tennessee's defense was never what its hat was hung on for this season. Giving up yards, giving up crucial third downs, like you were talking about, not being able to get off the field. I'm going to go with the receivers.
That's fair. I think that's very fair. And I do think there's an argument there for Banks missing that night in Columbia. However, Banks's absence didn't lose that game. They all lost that game.
Yeah.
I will admit though the defense was even worse. I do think
Certainly.
that Banks knows where to be, position and stuff like that. I feel comfortable with Beasley and Juwan Mitchell, but I don't want to get into my keys to the game just yet, but we'll get there. One of these keys I'm going to have is Jeremy Banks would be needed for that.
Yeah.
The good thing about the opt-outs with with Hyatt and Tillman is we get a little 2023 preview in that receiver room. We'll get to see that Brew McCoy, Ramel Keaton, Squirrel White, trio. Is there another possibility outside of Squirrel that I might be missing? I don't see it being Walker. It's got to be Squirrel, right?
I think it's going to be Squirrel in the slot, man. Until Walker Merrill has occasionally been in the slot, but no, it's going to be Squirrel. I think the staff has proven that in the moments where Hyatt has not been in the game, that they want to get him involved, want to get him in rhythm. And Joe likes to throw his way for sure. So, no, I think it's going to be Squirrel in the slot just about 24/7 again, unless it's just a weird game.
Yeah, I would agree to that. So with that said, Clemson has struggled with the bigger body receivers on the year. And we've got that in Brew, so I feel good about that. That's a little bit of a thunder lightning approach with Brew and Squirrel, and Ramel being a bit of a hybrid there, sure-handed hybrid. So excited for that. Clemson, on the other hand, they've got defensive end Miles Murphy opting out. Obviously, DJ has transferred, and Trenton Simpson, star-studded linebacker for them, is out with an injury. As far as I know, for those guys, they're near fully loaded.
Yeah, very close. I would say.
Yeah,
very close to being fully loaded.
So how we feeling? How we feeling going into this, knowing who is not playing and whatnot?
Well, here's some things that I've been looking at, trying to figure out how I'm feeling. I didn't have a great feeling about this matchup to begin with. Before opt-outs were announced, before Darnell said he was playing, I didn't have a good feeling about this because I really like Clemson's defense, and I just really don't know what I'm going to get out of Tennessee's defense, if anything. So I didn't have a great feeling about it, but I can tell you this. My dad asked me, as he often does, what's the line for the game? We talk about that stuff a lot. We talked about it on Christmas morning, and it was 5.5 in Clemson's favor, and that's down to 4.5 in Clemson's favor. And then the matchup predictor, 57% in Tennessee's favor. So I'm certainly, if I'm going to lean one way or the other, I'm going to say Clemson, probably by a touchdown is what I'm thinking. I think Tennessee should be able to move the ball because of the tempo and the various factors. I mean, you even had in a lot, let's not put a lot in this, but you had Clemson players talking about practicing with the tempo that Tennessee uses and how tough it was. And, Clemson's players have been nothing but complimentary, even of the defense, which we know is very suspect at best. So, again, not feeling great. I'm leaning that Clemson probably is about a touchdown better than Tennessee in this game, just because of how who they've been is in my mind. Cade Klubnik coming in relief throws memories in my mind of Trevor Lawrence coming out. I don't think it's Trevor Lawrence or anybody like that, but just the vibes are not great for Tennessee for me in this game.
I would certainly agree with you. I'm not feeling confident. I think I've kind of come to terms with I'm expecting a loss here, which stinks because we're at a New Year's Six bowl game. High school recruits are going to be watching, and which is about the only time most people would say it matters is when the recruits are watching, because a lot of people are calling it a meaningless bowl game. For us, for you and I, for Tennessee fans, I wouldn't call it meaningless. I mean, sure dang excited to be there.
Absolutely.
In addition, we got a lot of dudes practicing in non-contact jerseys. I don't know if you've seen that. Yeah, a ton of them. I don't even want to bother with the list. There's just a ton of them.
Well, heck, if you think back to the last two games of the season and defensive secondary alone. And
Yeah.
even in that Vanderbilt game, who did play and how they looked just mobility wise, I mean, I can completely understand why these guys are, don't touch me right now. Do
Sure.
not run into me. I will not tackle you. Do not truck me. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
We've been walking wounded for a while.
Yeah. So, so with that said, again, not optimistic. I'm curious to see how our staff is going to prepare for these guys with all the time that's been had for the preparation for this game. Ooh, that was like Twilight Zone type sound. So the preparation, I'm interested to see, especially at halftime once we come out third quarter, what adjustments are going to be made. How have we, from a coaching standpoint, how have we prepared for this game? But I keep going back ultimately to about, gosh, 10, 12 years ago when Oregon and Stanford were going back at it or going back and forth with each other, and Stanford was kind of owning those guys. Therefore, well, not owning them, but finding ways to stay with them and even beat them on occasion. Oregon was running a fast offense, no huddle, hurry up. They were snapping the ball quick, which was really fast for that time. And Stanford was beating them at the point of attack on the line of scrimmage. And I'm going, well, Clemson has the bodies and the dudes to do that. The front seven scares me more than anything with Clemson. Cade Klumanik also scares me. He's a bit of a gosh, I'm stuttering a ton today.
Me too. I'm very sorry for
that. He strikes me as a bit of a gunslinger mentality, and I think those are the kinds of dudes that can beat us bad, soundly, well. So that makes me nervous. But if we come out and we go kind of like we did at Pitt, where we had some drives stall. I think the opening first 3 drives stalled.
That sounds right.
I think if we get into that situation, we're going to be in a world of hurt. Ultimately, I'll go ahead and give a sneak peek. I'm expecting about a 2 to 3 score loss. I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere around 17. I don't understand the spread, nor do I understand the over under. The over under, if I remember right, is set at 63.5.
That is correct.
I think Clemson's defense is going to pose a lot of problems for us. So with all that said, I'm not feeling real good about this.
Absolutely. We're on the same page on that, it sounds like.
Yep. So I got some keys to the game, in which I think things that I think have to happen. And I got 3 of them. And I think all 3 absolutely have to happen in order for Tennessee to win this game. I don't think it's in question. I don't think it's 2 out of the 3. Certainly not 1 out of 3. I think all 3 need to happen. I think we need to play some of our best football with the guys that we have. If it was Hendon and Hyatt, I thought about this. I would still feel pretty similar, but I would feel better. I feel like we could
so much better.
I would feel like we could at least make it a scoring match.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that said, so I got 3. Here's the first one. I think we have to be able to run the ball and run it well. I'm talking like a 4.5 to 5.5 yards per carry ordeal. That's going to take pressure off Joe, okay, who's getting his Vanderbilt, getting a second start since Pitt last year.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's going to be bothered by the pressure or by the big lights. I think he's prepared for this moment. I think he's ready. He's ready. But I can see a scenario where things are not going our way well on the ground, and he's doing this thing where he's overshooting balls, right? Or he's hitting dudes high on 6-yard hitch routes, stuff like that, because he's feeling the weight of having to do it all himself.
Yeah.
So we got to take the pressure off Joe with being able to run the ball well. And we've got to be able to move the chains on the ground. We can't get into third and short, third and 4s, and they know it's going to be in the air.
Yep.
We got to be able to convert on the ground, which honestly right now I think is a coin flip on whether we can do that. Our offensive line has exceeded our expectations, right?
Absolutely.
But that front 4 for these guys, they are elite. I mean,
they're as good as right there with the best we've seen.
Yeah, you've got NFL talent on their bench at this position. So we got to be able to run the ball. All right, that's key number one. I don't think that's an option. The minute you make us one dimensional with Joe, I'm not confident,
Same.
especially without Hyatt and without Tillman. I just
Absolutely.
hey, go prove me wrong.
Please do.
Please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please do.
Go prove me wrong. But I think Small is going to have to be around 80 yards. Wright's going to have to be around 60 to 80 yards in order to win this game. I don't think we can get anything less than, if we're below 150 on the ground, it's a loss in my mind.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I'm just thinking about the keys that I have. And I was going to say we need to, one, outrush Clemson, the rush yardage totals.
Okay.
For team wise.
Yeah.
I think it has to be 150 plus is what I was sitting at in my mind. And I think you have to hold Clemson around 100. It's funny if you actually look at the stats, Tennessee allows 10 more yards, 111 to Clemson's 101 rushing. And I think you have to hold Clemson around that century mark, which let's be honest, Tennessee's rush defense has exceeded what we thought it would be over the season. But this is, I think, where Jeremy Banks could be vital. So I hope that the preparation without him is strong. But again, I'm saying you've got to get probably to 150 for me to feel anywhere good if you're Tennessee. And then I think you have to win that battle at least by 25, if not by 150 to around 100.
I can agree with that. So that's going to take me into my second key, and that's containing their run. I think you're going to have to keep that thing at bay. I've been really hard on Will Shipley, and I think it's just because he has preceded dudes like Etienne.
Yeah.
And he's a 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah. 5.8 per carry.
Yeah. So he has done well on the ground. I don't see us stopping that by any means. I think we're gonna have to contain it. We're gonna have to keep that at bay. We're gonna have to get them to put the ball in the air when they don't want to.
Absolutely.
Make them uncomfortable. We can't allow them to be in like a 2nd and 6 situation. They put it on the ground and convert.
Yeah.
That can't happen.
Nope,
and just highlight or piggybacking on myself for a second. I think that Beasley and Jawan Mitchell are more than capable of doing this.
Absolutely.
I really do. We've gotten exceptional play from Amari Thomas. We've gotten good play from Bumpus, Byron Young. Barron has been, serviceable. It's not necessarily showing up on the stat sheet, but, gap assignment, stuff like that. So our run fits are going to have to be good. So we got to run the ball. We got to contain the run. And I think the third thing that absolutely has to happen, this is arguably just as important as the first, and that's create pressure on Cade.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying even like an every down situation, but he can't just be back there in similar situations the way Bryce was when they were in Knoxville. His ability to move around, keep his eyes downfield, buy time, that can't happen. We cannot allow that. We have got to be able to get off the field. When we get into a 3rd and 6 situation or a 3rd and long, when they hand it to us, if they got a holding call or a false start, they get behind the chains, that has to be the moment in time where we get off the field.
Absolutely.
This whole converting, reliving Florida and Alabama, where they just converted every single critical down, that cannot happen. Clemson, no. I don't know how else to word this. So I think all of those things, those 3 things have to happen. I don't think any of them are negotiable.
Oh no, I couldn't agree more. And I'm kind of laughing again because Jalen Wright has the exact same average rush of 5.8 as Will Shipley does. He obviously has 400, 350, 400 less yards because of the number of carries.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny to me that it's Jalen because he doesn't have the big body that Jabari has. But then again, Jabari doesn't have the speed that Sampson and Wright have. So that was just funny to me looking at that. I've got 2 others for sure.
Okay.
One is so basic that I'm almost ashamed, but I think it's because
before you say it, the basics for us are what's going to win this.
Absolutely.
That it has to happen.
And the reason I say it is because it's not always actually it's hard to find games where it's been the case. In fact, but a perfect special teams game. I mean, perfect. You cannot miss field goals if you get into range, and who knows if we'll even attempt them. But, again, it's been a little scary at times when Tennessee lines up for a field goal. Is it going to get blocked? Is it going to be a low ball? Is it going to be accurate? You just don't know. So if you get into range, you got to knock them down.
Fair enough.
Extra points, I shouldn't even have to mention it, but again, it's been tough at times, a little fishy at times. Perfect game. No punt blocks, no return game issues. We've not really seen those this year, which I'm grateful for.
Agreed.
And I think there's a blessing in disguise in that we didn't really see D. Williams return a lot of kicks. Well, Holiday's in the portal. He won't be returning kicks on Friday night. So you'll get D. Williams not only if you force punts, but on any kick returns. And let's be real, we fair caught 10 times the amount of kicks that we actually returned. So hopefully we get a chance to see D. Williams create opportunities if the offense is struggling, or even if they're having a good game, just to supplement that. But a perfect special teams game. And again, the only reason I mention it is because it's really hard to find many A- or just A games from the special teams. They've had good games, but there's almost been one area lacking for them, when other areas have succeeded. And then the other thing is something that we just haven't seen often, but I think that Joe needs to be, if he's below 65% completion percentage, I think that bodes really poorly. I really do.
It'll be a long night.
And it'll be one thing. Yeah, long night. It'll be one thing if it's the deep shots that are either overthrown or, let's be real, they're hard to complete, period. A deep shot is, unless the guy's running as open as high has been many times, or you've just beat your man. They're even still hard to complete. But can he complete the intermediate throws? Do we call the intermediate throws? Are we calling stuff across the middle, giving him a huge target like a Brew, like a Ramel over the middle? Are we doing those things, the tight ends? So again, I think 60 is the absolute floor. 65, I think, really, really bodes well. Agreed. Especially depending on how many times we throw. You'd think that you might go to some of those shorter throws, like those swings and those bubbles that we've seen at times this year, but we saw a lot of last year. Heat Joe up, get him in rhythm. Again, I think 60 is the absolute floor for a successful night for Tennessee's offense.
I can agree with that. I'm going to come back to the special teams thing there for a second. I think you're spot on with that. If there's points to be had, we need to walk away with them.
Oh, 100%.
A blocked field goal or something like that. We're going to have to find points. I think points and yards are going to be hard to come by for just for one.
That's my feeling.
The Pitt game, that the special teams almost cost us the Pitt game.
Absolutely did. You talk about a muff punt. That was before D. Williams was involved. Of course, he's a firecracker back there. He has a high ceiling, but he's also going to take chances. And and it could even be him letting one go over his head if he thinks it's going to go through the end zone, like we saw at Georgia. That was just a recipe for disaster. He has to really have a solid game, and anything he could add is huge.
Sure.
Talk about the muff punt, talk about the block punt in the Pitt games. Thankfully, we have not seen those issues the way that we did then. Yeah. But it cannot rear its ugly head in this game.
It will be absolutely massive if we can find points in the special teams department on a kick return or a punt return or something like that. That would be absolutely massive. I do agree with the Joe Milton thing as well and the completion percentage. I want to just add to that and say, I think one thing that bodes well for us is our type of offense as far as making them cover sideline to sideline. I don't think Clemson has seen something like that. They've got elite speed. That defense is just elite from top to bottom. So how will they, you can practice for it all you want to, right? But until you actually see it, it can't be replicated. You have to actually go up against it. So I think that might bode well for us. But again, I come back to point number one. You got to convert 3rd and 1 on the ground, 2nd and 4 on the ground. You got to be able to do that.
Yes.
So we're down to the last 10 minutes here. Give me a score prediction. Give me if Tennessee does win, tell me why, or tell me who the MVP is. Something like that.
All right, score prediction. What I'm actually feeling, I'm gonna say 34-28 Clemson.
Okay.
Is what I'm feeling and fearing. Of course, this is going to happen. If Tennessee does win, man, I think the MVP, if if Tennessee wins is going to have to be Joe Milton, because the running backs are capable if the room is there. We know that. We haven't just ran wild except for really against Vanderbilt. Of course, the run game has been very serviceable, but you talk about them winning you a game, you're looking at Vanderbilt and things like that. I think it has to come down to Joe and this offensive line really, playing the way that they have, giving him time, him making quick and efficient decisions, and then just hitting his targets if they are there, if they're open.
Fair enough. I could agree with that. My score prediction is close, but worse. I got Clemson 37, us 21. I think points and yards are going to be hard to come by. I really do. I just don't think this bodes well. The timing of it stinketh. So, but I think if we do win, I think we need to turn around and hand an MVP trophy to our front five, the offensive line, and say,
couldn't agree more.
You guys got this done. When we needed short yards, you got it done. When we needed, a conversion on 3rd and 12, we ran a draw, and you got it done. You made that conversion. So I'm gonna give that to the offensive line. I think those guys need to have a great night, an absolute great night, and I'm encouraged that Darnell Wright will be there for that. Excited to see him go off into the pros. Hope he plays for a team that I like.
Yeah.
Also, with that said, hope Hooker is not a saint. Anyway, so yeah, I would think that it's because our offensive line, or I guess just the trenches altogether, offensive line.
There you go.
And front seven. We won it in the nitty gritty, in the dirty, in the nasty, which would be huge, man, because Clemson. They've won championships and they've won for years because of elite play in the trenches. So, absolutely.
This is a huge game. I'm so grateful for this season. Let's just go ahead and say again that 10-2 was our absolute ceiling. Yeah, 11-1 was on the table, but nobody was saying 11 wins in the regular season. To do it and getting it in a New Year's Six bowl would be utterly amazing. The turnaround has been quick, and we hope that it's not short-lived. We hope that it's built to stay and last, and it's taking steps that look like it is. But just so glad to be in this game, and I hope that it's a vintage, just 60-minute game, unless Tennessee runs away with it. Where it's not a beatdown. I hope Tennessee doesn't get beat down, of course, but I just hope it's a vintage game that we can look back fondly on, like we do this season. That we close this group out, the guys that are leaving the program, send them out with a good memory and a great win, and build from here.
Yeah, no doubt. This is our last Tennessee preview episode of the 2022 college football season. The least that you can do if you're sitting here listening on podcast, you're watching on YouTube, is like and subscribe. We won't find you. We won't send you emails. We're gonna do any of that nature, but we will call you names, and we will, like, oh, you listen, but you haven't subscribed. You're a dirty.
We will talk behind your back and to your face,
and on the show. Hey, we love you guys. Hope you have a fantastic New Year's. Enjoy the bowl games that are tonight at the time of this recording. I think Florida State and Oklahoma will be this evening, in Texas and Washington tonight. Minnesota might already have kicked off, but I just don't care. So, go Vols. We love you guys. Pandemonium reigns. Not for the last time this year, but for the last Tennessee preview. God bless. Go Vols.
Pandemonium reigns.